Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? This time I am taking a look at Chvrches' newest album entitled Love is Dead. Now, for those of you who don't know who Chvrches is, they are a synth pop slash indie pop band from Glasgow, Scotland. Members include Ian Cook on synthesizers, piano, guitar, bass, and backing vocals, Martin Doherty on synthesizers, samplers, backing, and lead vocals, and Lauren Mayberry on lead and backing vocals, drums, percussion, and what I find funny, additional synthesizers, as if they don't have enough synthesizers. But anyways, the previous albums include The Bones of What You Believe in 2013 and Every Open Eye in 2015. Now, I don't remember exactly where I heard about this band. I believe it was probably while looking through the Rolling Stones top 50 albums of 2013. I remember diving through this album and really enjoying their sound. It was very colorful. It was very fun at times, but there was also times where it was a little bit darker and a little bit more somber and sobering in terms of the music. And I really remember liking it. I don't remember if it made it into my top 50 albums of 2013 or just missed the cut, but I know it was definitely in the conversation. I never listened to Every Open Eye, and it just missed my radar. I don't remember it coming out, but when I was looking through albums for this year, I was pleased to see that they were dropping their third album. So I don't really know if their sound changed from the first album to the second album and how that progressed onto the third album, but this is what I think about this particular album. I really like the sound. It's still what I remember from The Bones of What You Believe, and it's not that it doesn't change a lot, but it's still very consistently what that first album was, if not a little bit more grand in scope at some points. Graffiti is the album's starter, and it reminds me a lot of The Mother We Share in terms of the sound and the pace of it, though it does feel a little bit grander in scope. And even Get Out kind of reminds me of songs from the previous album, but it's my favorite because it has such a catchy chorus. There's even an interesting chord progression of C minor, E flat, major 7, G minor 7, and A flat right before the chorus. And I just really, really like that chorus. It's very catchy. It's probably one of my favorite singles of this year so far. There's some really good harmonies on the chorus as well as the post-chorus. I like the beat. I like a lot of the stuff that's going on with this song. Even if it sounds similar to stuff from previous albums, it's one of their better songs that they have created. So a lot of the songs do sound similar to stuff from previous parts. Deliverance is a little bit more fast-paced than usual, and it has some interesting harmonies on the chorus. The melody isn't hugely interesting in the verse, but there's some fun parts on there. I do think the Deliverance is a little bit annoying, but it's a fun song. So like in the first album, this is the point where the sound kind of shifts a little bit in tone. It slows down a little bit. It's a little bit darker, at least on this particular song. I remember, I think it was like the fourth or fifth track on the first album that has that same like darker tone in that part. But My Enemy is the one in question, and it features Matt Berninger from The National on here. It's a nice spacious arrangement that's darker, making it for an interesting and a sobering song. But I think partly I don't like Matt Berninger's vocals on here. I've never really liked them in terms of his vocals from The National, and it does make for an interesting contrast with Mayberry's voice, but for a sobering song, it's not the best one. Forever is something that kind of sounds like it would have been on After Laughter. It uses a more of a drum kit sound in terms of the drums, and Mayberry kind of channels a little bit of Haley Williams in her voice. It's a beautiful song that has some very interesting drum parts, especially on the bridge, and it's one of the standout to me, as well as Never Say Die, which has a nice build of progression. I love the staccato melody as well as the end of some of these words. Didn't you say that? Didn't you say that? So it's so Tito, so Tito. I really like that. And there's some nice harmonies on the chorus. I love the crazy electronic parts that complement the drums on the pre-chorus very well, and the bridge itself has so much intensity because the drums have this very pulsating beat to it. It's like boom, 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 boom. Very nice. Just an overall very interesting arrangement. Miracle, one of the other singles on the album, has another one that's contrast is very nice, where it's a little bit of a floaty idea in the verses, and then this more breakdown-ish, bombastic chorus, and you even hear it in the way that Mayberry's vocals change. There's a little bit of electronic tinge to make it a little bit harder on the chorus. The arrangement isn't too complex, but it's a nice single. Graves, one of the lower points on this album. It's very repetitive and not very interesting. One of the more bland arrangements, and I don't really like the chorus melody on this song. I like the idea of this being one of the only songs that are talking about politics and asking people to turn their eyes to the troubles in the world rather than blind themselves from it. Don't be doing your own thing while these people that are ruining the world are dancing on our graves. I like the idea, but I wish that the arrangement was a little bit more interesting. Heaven and Hell, another solid song, and one that also uses a lot of contrast, and it starts with some nice muted guitar in the verse with a pulsing drum beat, and I love the melody, especially in the bridge and the chorus. The bridge itself is very echoey and spacious, giving some clout to the lyrics, and then there are some beautiful harmonies on the chorus with some nice power on that last chorus. There's even a little nice electronic interlude that brings on the intensity before that final chorus, and it has a little nice subdued outro as well. Then we get to God's Plan, a very weird arrangement with some very dark tones and some very inconsistent lyrical timing. This is the only song on the album where Martin Doherty sings the lead vocals, and Mayberry adds some harmonies to there. It's an alright song, it's just a little bit too weird for my taste. Really Gone is the most subdued song. It's a ballad, very simple and short. Some beautiful melody lines, especially in the chorus, especially at the end of the chorus. It's like, I can't stay. I love that little line. It's beautiful, and it adds a nice touch and nice contrast to God's Plan. Then you get 2, which is a instrumental with a little bit of muffled sound from Mayberry in the background. It has an interesting chord progression at the beginning that gets into the final song, which is Wonderland, and another one where there's a very nice contrast in sounds, where you have a more fast-paced, lighter verse combined with a halftime powerful chorus. I really like the melody line on the verse, and there's some good harmonies on the chorus. I will say the one thing that kind of is a little bit annoying is there's a post-chorus part that's a little bit too poppy, but I like that keyboard line in the bridge, and I think it's a very solid way of ending this album. I think there's a lot of good arrangements, usually when they are contrasting parts. So like Wonderland, Heaven and Hell, Miracle, Never Say Die, Forever. I think when you have some building arrangements or some contrasting arrangements, I think those are some of the highlights. Especially Get Out. I really like the contrasting ideas in the verse and the chorus in there. Everything else is not bad. I just think it's either doesn't do enough to make it interesting, or it throws a little bit too much interesting without anything else to grab by. Like Deliverance, I love the second half of the song, but I don't think the verse is very interesting. My Enemy, again, the contrasting voices on this song don't really do enough to save it, even though it's a little bit of a different sound. Graffiti, nice beginner, but nothing really special. God's Plan, very weird to me. Graves, very unoriginal. And then the last song being 2, which is an instrumental, not really much to it. I think once you get through the first 6 of the best songs, or even 7, so I would go, for me, it would be Get Out, Heaven and Hell, Never Say Die, Forever, Wonderland, Really Gone, Miracle. I think all 7 of those are very solid, even though Miracle is a little bit simplistic in nature. I think once you get to the other 6, they're either interesting in parts or uninteresting in general. but I think it's a really solid album. The lyrics themselves talk a lot about relationship ideas or breaking up with somebody or trying to keep someone sane while through breakup. There are a couple of songs where I said, like on Graves and Wonderland, where they're talking about more of the troubles in the world. Wonderland talking about the idea of living in a fantasy world and not being woken up to what's going on around them. But everything else is basically about love. Only, I would say, Heaven or Hell is talking about more of the oppressions that we put on ourselves in social media, especially the way that people judge people in the media that are famous because they're always out there. I think the lyrics aren't, hugely interesting at times, but they do enough to add to the color and the timbre of these songs. I think it's a very solid album. I can't say if it's better than their first album because I don't remember much of it, but I think I really like this album. This will definitely be in my top 50, almost certainly be in my top 50, and there's a lot of really good songs on here. I would definitely say listen to it once. All the singles are very solid. I think in general there's enough spacing between all of these bad songs that you can get through this whole entire CD without being like, I need to shut it off because there's too many strings of bad songs. The way that I rank this, there's only like once where the last 6 are spaced together, and that Deliverance and My Enemy. And even Deliverance, like I said, isn't a bad song. So you're really, for the most part, getting some really, really interesting electronic songs. I would say the only other thing is at the beginning, if you can get through the first 3, that's where like the changes in ideas start working, where you get to My Enemy Forever, Never Say Die, and Miracle. I think like that's a run where the stylistic ideas change enough to make it interesting. So if you can get through those first 3 songs that kind of sound very similar, you're going to get to a better place after that. So that is my time. Definitely take a look at this if you are interested in the electronic scene or electronic pop or indie pop, or if you've listened to Chvrches before. I think this is, again, another solid album. If you like this album, of course, give me this video a like, comment on what you think about the album, share this with your friends, subscribe to my channel, and most importantly, just keep on watching my videos. On Friday, I will be back with one more album kind of associated with Linkin Park, and then Sunday, I will be back with another RUN, with another female artist I am very high on, but I won't give it away until Sunday. So until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.